Hey there, all you cinemasochists and insaniacs out there. I don't know about you, but after a long, hard week, I like to draw myself a nice hot bath, light some candles, maybe a joint, and get wet with the cinema Shitshow. And now, that experience is fully immersive thanks to Bloodbath, the one and only bath bomb on the market that's formulated to look, feel, smell, and taste like real human blood. While other horror-themed bath bombs only look the part, with Bloodbath, you can choose your favorite horror icons from Jason to Art the Clown and be fully confident that you aren't just taking a bath, you're having an experience. Just slide into a full tub, drop in your Bloodbath, and enjoy the effervescence discovering all your favorite places as the crimson plasma engulfs you. And when you're done, Bloodbath rinses completely clean, without any residue or odor, making it the perfect gift for your friend's mom. So next time you're feeling in the mood, don't just take a bath, take a Bloodbath. Exclusively from Crystal Lake Beauty.
Welcome to the Cinema Shitshow. With these two movie nerds. Hope your mom's not listening.
Still can't see the numbers.
The numbers.
Okay, I guess we're gonna jump right into it. What's up, Worm Tribe? It's your boy Nix coming at you. No, I'm sorry. It's hey, welcome to the Shit Show. I am Nix. I've of course got my trusty friend Shithead Shinobi over there, aka Tubin.
Oh, we're back to that now. Great.
I don't know. I said we go back and forth. And we also have a special guest with us today. We're returning guest. I think this is our second returning guest. We've got the Shit Snake. We've got the Podfather. We've got Nick from Bad Movies We Love back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, man.
Oh, absolutely love to do it. I tried to hijack his show. He kicked me off. That was for his new episode for Life. He's been away for a little bit, had some things to deal with, but he's finally back. So be sure to go check out Bad Movies We Love.
Oh, thank you for the plug.
Hey.
Speaking of which, we should have Nick do a commercial for this episode that we can plug in at some point.
Yeah. If he feels like
it. This would be a funny one to do an episode commercial for. So.
All right. Noted.
So hey, Ben, we watched a movie today, or not today, but we've watched this movie a couple times now. What movie did we watch, Ben?
We watched Bloodbath at the House of Death from 1984.
We sure did.
By Ray Cameron.
And this was a feature film for a bunch of TV comedians. Mainly, it was a vehicle for Kenny Everett, who was really big at the time over in England. And there's, almost everybody in this movie was like involved with television comedy and stuff. Pamela Stevenson. But it's also, I think, whenever I tried to get somebody to watch this with me, I would also go, it's got Vincent Price in it. to try to entice them to come in. He's only in there for about 5 minutes, but when he is on the screen, it's joyous. So yeah, it's a Nick, you're the guest. And by the way, let me point out, we're not following the rules again. Nick, on the second visit, the guest is supposed to bring a movie of their choice.
Well, this was kind of a spur of the moment. You guys were watching it, and I was like, you know what? This would be the perfect movie to have Nick on. So
Yeah, I got invited to watch it.
Wasn't really planned in advance.
No, not at all.
Yeah, he graciously jumped on the opportunity to jump in the chaos with us again. So Nick, let's have you do a quick summary. What's the movie about?
Oh shit. There
Is there a plot?
there kind of is a plot. It's sort of like a haunted house, but it's more like there's a cult that's sort of I don't know if they worship this house, but they're Satanists, and this house seems to be something of a conduit. And at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to a series of comical but grisly murders. And 18 years later, or some period of time later, a bunch of scientists and not scientists decide to show up and investigate what happened at this house. And the Satanist cult wants to sacrifice them all to bring about Satan. And something like that kind of happens. It's about as best I can recollect.
Yeah, it's the movie isn't very clear about almost anything. Because I think at one point, because they're supposed to be Satanists, but they also say they're aliens as well. So I don't is Satan an alien?
I mean, he might be.
Aliens are real now, so we never know.
I think it's really just a vehicle for a bunch of jokes. They throw them out there at a rapid pace, and a lot of them don't work. Some of them really do work. This movie was not beloved when it was released in '84. Everybody pretty much trash talked it. Didn't even get a theatrical release in the U.S. It went straight to television, which is where I saw it. This must have been around 1988, maybe. And I was in it was in a Tubin. What you pulling on, buddy?
Trying to get high, but it's not working.
So with 1988, I was what'd I say? I was 14, 15, something like that. 15 years old. I don't remember. Anyway, I was in this girl's basement, from my church group, and it happened to be on the television while I was trying to get in her shirt. I did succeed, by the way. And there was one scene in there that there was one scene in there that stuck out to me because it was so ridiculous, and it's the only reason that I've remembered that this film even existed for so long. I guess about 10, 15 years ago, I tried to track it down and I could not find it anywhere. I had to go to the deepest parts of the web in order to find a shitty VHS copy. But now it's on Tubi, and it's a really good print too. It looks great. We all watched it on YouTube, which, by the way, cuts out about 15 seconds of the opening. There was an opening crawl on there that said August the 12th, 1975. Because I remember we were all like, what year is this supposed to be taking place? And then it says Thursday, give or take a day. So we start off with a joke right away. Maybe that would have helped clue you guys in that it was a comedy, because that part wasn't on ours. And I remember it took Nick at least like 10 minutes to go, oh, this is a comedy. Okay. Because it starts off with a pretty violent sequence of murders.
It does. And I wasn't quite sure, you get introduced to the house as like business gentlemen's retreat and girls summer camp.
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, that's an interesting choice. But I see like Bloodbath at the House of Death, and I'm like, all right, well, Nix loves horror movies. I don't know what I'm getting into here. And then like as the kills start to unfold, I'm like, all right, it's still pretty violent, but it's a little off, like rhythm wise. And then as we have the detective sitting outside the house with blood dripping on his head, and I'm asking Nick's like, how much blood has to fall on this guy's head before he's gonna notice? And then I was like, oh, okay, this is a comedy. And yeah, once that sort of leaf turned over, I had a lot of fun with it after that.
Yeah, so I mean, the opening scene is really, really incredible, and I didn't notice it on the second and a half viewing of this movie. But Nick's pointed it out, and had I seen it, I probably would have figured out pretty quickly that it was a comedy. When they show the one guy's feet walking in, and he's wearing Birkenstocks.
Right, as all the other cult members are wearing like boots, and then the very last one come in has Birkenstocks on.
But I mean, if this was played straight up, that opening scene is maybe one of my like favorite openings of like a horror movie. Not like my favorite, obviously, but it's up there. I mean, it's pretty scary. I mean, like thinking about 5 or 6 people walking into a house covered in monks' robes and hoods and with weapons is pretty terrifying. But then quickly, after you start to realize like, oh, this is definitely not played straight up. But yeah, I mean, good on them to like start it off kind of intense and kind of fool you a little.
I like well, yeah, because I mean, at one point the dude runs in with a spear, and then it cuts to that he's put it through 4 people. But I do think you have like a point, because like the very first kill is, I think, by shotgun. There's a businessman and a girl in bed, and it kind of reminded me of like the DeFeo killings in Amityville sort of thing. Yeah, but yeah, quickly goes off the rails. So it's what I said, 1975. That happens. Oh yeah, 2 people get struck by cartoon lightning and explode.
Mm-hmm.
That was cute. And then we cut to the present day. After all of that, and here's where we get introduced to all of our characters that are on their way to this mansion, Headstone Manor. They say there's been radioactivity there whenever this weird stuff happens. Everybody gives their backstory. They're all in separate cars. So there's 2 in one car. And this is where we're introduced to our lead, which is I'm just call him German guy. I'm terrible with names. And really, they don't give us a lot of names in the movie. They don't say them very often. It's very hard to tell who's who. But a German guy's riding in the car with the hot lady. And she's like, "This is stupid. Why are we doing this?" And he goes, "Well, we are simply scientists that have been called to come and investigate da 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 blah 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 blah. Simple as that." And that's kind of the way it goes. Each car has 2 people in it, and each one of them goes into a little bit of who they are and why they're going to the manor, which I thought was pretty funny.
I'm typically not a fan of exposition of any kind, but this was just the greatest. Like, just how they explained it is just like such a spoof on all the horror tropes or mystery tropes of like them somebody trying to explain why they're there, and I just thought it was really well done, really, really funny.
Plus, you have 10 people in 5 cars, and none of them really explain anything worthwhile. It's very loosely put together. You hear that there was 18 murders or something. They don't really give you a great reason for why they're actually going there.
Well, I think the premise is that they want to prove that there is nothing supernatural going on. It's hinted at here and there through little bits of dialogue, but yeah, again, the movie is not very strong on plot. But it's so, and by the way, I love there was one cute gag when with our first couple, while he's going into this explanation and whatnot, she's in the driver's seat, but she's holding the map. Like I think with both hands. So, but yeah, they do. They end up at the inn at the bar. The what was it called?
Duck and pellet.
Duck and pullet.
Pullet.
Yeah. And it looks like a duck is having sex with a chicken on the sign. I don't know what that's about. But they go in. They kind of do a play on American Werewolf in London, where everybody gets quiet when the newbies are in there. But it turns out it's because the German dude's fly is down. And they start to go over the different deaths. It's like 2 were shot, and 1 was hanged, and 4 were skewered, and everybody keeps getting it wrong. And then it finally culminates. So they cut away to another scene. When they cut back, they're all singing it like a Partridge in a Pear Tree, the 12 Days of Christmas. Yeah,
it's 6 bodies in the freezer.
It's a great scene. Everybody's singing along. One dude's playing piano, and it's really great.
But I like the description of the people in the freezer. It says, "Oh yes, they were frozen in the freezer. They were wrapped in, I think, clear film. They were shot."
Yeah.
That part it never comes up again. But I guess at that point, finally, everybody's going to end up at the businessman weekend retreat and girls' summer camp house.
Well, you forgot a big part of that scene, where the symbol.
Oh,
on the wall.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, going back to that American Werewolf thing. Yeah, they notice this odd symbol on the wall, and then as they look around, they notice everybody in the bar has that symbol tattooed on them. And then there's a black person in the bar, and his tattoo is white. You can see it. And then there's a dog that also has the symbol on its head as well. It's everywhere. So obviously all these people must be members of the cult. And then we finally get everybody all at the house. Now, who are our characters? We've got German guy and sexy lady, who I was like the whole time, I'm like, if I don't get to see her boobs, I'm going to be very upset.
This is true.
We've got the alcoholic and the lady who is basically Carrie, but never does that, like, except in a flashback. I don't know what to call her. Let's call her librarian lady. And then there's the prostitute and the guy with the mole on his arm. And then there's the gay couple.
Right.
Are they detectives?
I think they're detectives.
Think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that it matters, because they don't really do any detective
no detecting going on.
So at this point, we start to get like this is a spoof movie. It's spoofing, like I think we saw Legend of Hell House is like one of the main ones, because they've got a bunch of electrical equipment to kind of study the supernatural occurrences. We've got references to The Entity,
Alien,
Alien, The Shining. There were a ton of them
Carrie,
in here.
possibly.
Yeah, Carrie, definitely.
Yeah.
In one of those flashbacks. But yeah, it's like we were trying to think, like, has there been like a full horror spoof movie like that before this one?
That's a good question, because when you said that this movie came out and was like pretty much panned universally, I was like, did people just not like get it at the time? Because, it's very adept at knowing what it is and what its influences are, but the sort of deadpan humor played pretty straight sort of, if you're not accustomed to that, you wouldn't expect it. If you go into a movie that you expect to be like a traditional horror movie from the 80s especially, you would sort of want it to be these things. You'd want it to hit these certain tentpoles, and this movie sort of, it gets to those moments and then it turns left. And the whole time, like, it knows what it's doing. Like, you've talked about the German guy, right? But we're introduced to him and he's very much a British guy. But then we find out that he's probably like an ex-Nazi or something like that. Even though it's the 80s, it doesn't really line up timeline wise. But when he is under stress, he starts breaking into this German accent about how he was this surgeon and everybody was against him because he turned this guy's insides into spaghetti. And it's just like that character design to have this guy who's very British all of a sudden become very German. Like, this is a well-intended decision for this character, but it's crazy when you think about like context and what that means to the story. None of that necessarily adds up to anything super meaningful in terms of like who this guy is, but it's something that the writers and the director and the actor clearly wanted to focus on. So there's a lot of decisions like that in the movie that like let you know what's happening, but I could see audiences in the 80s just being like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do a little research. I think this is possibly the first like horror spoof movie, and it clearly, has a lot of influence from Airplane and but in a way, I actually think I prefer this style of spoof comedy because it's not. I mean, some of the scenes are over the top, but for the most part, it's fairly dry, and maybe that's because it's British. Um, you know, Airplane's funny, but a lot of the jokes are very like over the top and kind of just super zany. Where like with this, it's a little bit more. I think a little bit more intelligent a lot of times. And I mean, of the horror spoof comedies, this one is one of my favorites. Like, I really was kind of blown away by this, how much I liked it, and yeah, I mean, this is potentially, if it's not the first, it's definitely one of the very early ones. So, did a really good job for not having a lot of things to base it on, really. Another nod that I really liked was the Houseu nod with the house glowing like a reddish color. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's that radioactivity.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, because I think Saturday the 14th had come out before this one, but it wasn't really a spoof movie. Like, it wasn't covering all the like spoofing other specific movies, really. And it also was not very fucking funny either. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's from what I read, that's the way audiences and critics really felt about this. They thought it was awful. They didn't think it was funny. I think it would play, if more people saw it today, it would definitely play a lot better. But yeah, let's see, where are we? So
Wait, there's a plan.
What's that?
There's a plan.
So we're finally introduced to Vincent Price, who is like the leader of this cult. And we find out that they can create clones or something like that, because there was like the barmaid was found dead in the woods, but it was just like a wax clone or something. This is where we learn that they're Satanists. And Vincent Price is really just here to spew a bunch of nonsense dialogue. And he a lot of people say it's a bad performance, but I think he's hamming it up and having a fun time.
Absolutely.
Especially his little, he's waving his hands around, and he accidentally taps someone who's holding an axe. He taps the axe as he's in his big eloquent blah 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 blah, and goes ooh. It is the cutest little thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that I found out about this movie was the voice at the end when like they obviously
is he gonna beat me to it, Nick? We was just talking. I figured out what the end is supposed to be.
It's supposed to be E.T.'s voice.
Yes.
And it's the director's son. He was like 6 years old.
Nice.
Because we listened to it and we couldn't figure out, like, we're like, what is this? And then, I found it. So that was pretty interesting. But
Well, I just learned that today, right before we started recording. I'm like, oh, thank God, because that really confused the fuck out of me.
yeah.
So at this, I mean, it's hard to really. This movie's like a bunch of different sketches. Really, there's not really a plot. So it's gonna sound disjointed, but that's not just because of us. It's because that's how the movie goes.
For the first time.
So we get the German's backstory. Yes, he was a very notable surgeon, and his monocle fell into the patient he had open, and everyone started laughing at him, including the patient. So he started throwing the spaghetti innards at everyone and ran away to England, I guess, to become a paranormal paranormal scientist, I guess. Let's see, we're introduced to oh my god, the librarian lady, we're gonna call her. She, when she was younger, her mom was very overbearing, like Carrie's mom, and saw her kiss a boy on the cheek. But the big joke is that her mom just walks around wearing a confessional on her head.
That's so good.
I'm sorry. That one gets me every time. It's just so fucking crazy. So we learned that they're investigating the house. Everybody kind of splits up and goes in and has their own little interactions. The mole guy, I think, is my favorite character in this film, and it's because of the way he delivers everything. Because when he and the prostitute lady walk into the dirty kitchen, he touches her shoulder and she goes, "Oh, you scared me." And he goes, what does he say? "I know." It's like, he's very, very flat. And I just really like that guy. He did not do a lot of other work in film or television. I think he became like a playwright, maybe. He did a lot of ministry work, from what I saw on his Wikipedia page, like for people that were, on their last legs, about to pass away, and he started a thing that kind of helped people like that.
Wow.
Yeah, man, where do we go from here? I mean, there's so many jokes that come flying out of here, like the one in the library where each book she picks up makes something happen. Like one is the secret door, and they don't even notice that the door opens behind them, like from the bookcase. The other one's the sudden spear, where they almost get stabbed, and then the final book she picks up is the silent fart.
So was it the book that farted, or did the book make her fart?
The book, I believe,
I
farted.
think the book farted, yeah.
Yeah. Because even she's like, where is this coming from? That's a good joke, I guess. There was a really good special effect edit that they did for a very silly death, and that was for the librarian lady's mom.
Oh yeah,
because she's using her carry powers as a kid and puts her in a can opener, like her head.
It's so good.
It spins her around, and then the edit is so clean, man. It just goes from the actual actress to a dummy with the head falling off, and I couldn't tell where the cut was.
Yeah, both of us were pretty amazed. I think the first thing I said there was, I was like, "Oh wow, they did that really well."
Yeah,
and like for the most part, the editing is solid throughout this movie. There's a couple times where it's not as good as that, but considering they also have to bring in a lot of not doubles, but they have to use the same actor in a couple of scenes, there has to be a lot of like clean edits, especially later in the film. And yeah, that's not one of its weaknesses. And I wouldn't even say this movie necessarily has weaknesses per se, other than maybe like it just came out at the wrong time. Because I think, like you said, Nick, like if more people watch this now, I think there's been a lot more movies like this since. And I mean, even
Oh yeah.
even Cabin in the Woods is like a much more high budget sort of version of this style of movie. And I really like Cabin in the Woods, and I, put it off for many, many years before jumping into it. So I think there's more of an appetite for stuff like this now than there was at the height of like the horror era in the 80s.
Yeah, I think this movie probably would have done pretty well. The only scene, it's a very strange scene because it starts one way and then changes very quickly to the complete opposite way, which is the ghost rape. And like she's being forcibly violated by this ghost, and then she quickly changes into she's enjoying it, and then it gets funny at that point. But I don't know how that would play today's audience. I don't know how people would accept that.
Well, I think that was a direct spoof of The Entity, which had come out based on a novel where, supposedly based on a true story, where a woman was sexually violated by a spirit or demon or whatever. We're not sure. Yeah, so that's where it comes from. So I think maybe people back in the 80s would go, oh, I get this. I understand what they're doing here. But nowadays, if you have no idea that that movie exists or, I'd never heard of it, you'd be like, why the fuck are they doing this? This is
Right.
very poor taste.
Yeah.
Doesn't Dan Aykroyd get a ghost blowjob in one of the Ghostbusters movies?
Yes.
Yes, but he's not saying no at the beginning.
That's true. He's like, oh, well, I guess this is happening. Let's go for it. Just saying the 80s were a little bit different with using humor in that way.
Definitely, yeah, I mean, for sure. One interesting note is that Kenny Everett, who's the main guy, the German guy, he was actually gay. He ended up dying from HIV. And
he was closeted gay.
Well, he was closeted. But he there's some gay jokes in this movie, and I thought it was interesting that he was gay himself. So I don't know if that was like how he felt about them, but I didn't think that they were in poor taste though.
I think it was. What? I think that was pretty typical for English humor at the time, and probably American humor as well, was to, poke fun at the gays.
Well, but what I'm saying is like I didn't think that they were done like really in poor taste. They were kind of like more insinuated than, you know what I mean? Like I don't think that they were like spiteful, like mean or like.
Well, like our two gay detectives, they're really fun characters too. Even though they're barely in the movie.
Yeah, I think to Ben's point, like a movie in an American comedy in the 80s would have used sort of gay characters as a punchline to a joke. Right. And in this, that's not the case. Like these are gay characters that are part of this comedy, but they're not the butt of these jokes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was pretty surprised by that.
Well, there's the one, and there's the one great. I think the one big noticeable joke was Vincent Price is being talked to by Satan and told what to do, and they have to build this fire, and he says, "Gather up all the faggots and burn them," and one of the cult members goes, I don't think I'm comfortable with that.
And then somebody says like, oh, it's a bundle of sticks. Which, I mean, listen, it's an English movie. That is what they used to call it. Like, so, I mean, I guess when you look at it from that standpoint, like, yes, it was like a joke, but it was also like, okay, it's kind of a clever one because it's obviously like a play on words. And also they called cigarettes that as well, so it's kind of like a multi-layered joke there at that point.
Right. Definitely not a lot of Americans would really get that.
No, for sure.
I was gonna say, so 18 people died,
We
and
think.
it turns out this is something we forgot.
How
What's
many
that?
of them were?
We
How many of them were
think.
steered?
2 had an axe to the head, 2 were shot, 4 were skewered.
2 were struck by lightning.
Well, yes, 1 was hung, 6 are in the freezer, wrapped in cling wrap and shot. Oh, you can't do the math. But when we were introduced to the prostitute character, she's telling a story about how she had sex with 18 men at one after the other. And the mole guy goes, "Wow, you must have had a psychiatrist after all that." She goes, "Yes, one of them was a psychiatrist, and he made me tell him all about the 17 other ones."
It's very Freudian.
Yeah, so 18 killed, and then they kind of, that's a setup for another joke when they're talking about the 18 people. She's like, "Have you been talking to people about this?" No, it's the murders, honey. Should we? I mean, I don't think there's much else like story wise that we really need to cover, except that Vincent Price catches on fire and disappears from the film, and at this point, a bunch of clones of our characters pop up out of the ground.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, as I referenced, I really wanted to see the sexy lady's boobies, and we do get to see them, very briefly. But it was I celebrated and cheered.
He did.
This
is true.
So we've got clones of them now, all coming up, and their goal is to kill everyone in the house, in order to appease Satan. So I've listed all of the ways people die, and so we have the black detective. Oh wait, no, it starts with the German guy. So he's got this metal leg
that we haven't even talked about to this point. It's like they took it off a suit of armor and put it onto him.
Right, so he's always limping and stuff like that. There's the one scene where he's going down the wooden stairs, and each step he takes smashes the stairs.
He's knocking over everything in his room all the time.
Yeah.
So his own clone comes at him and electrifies its leg and touches his leg, and
radiation.
He
Yeah.
and he's burnt to a crisp. So that's the way he goes out. Next, we go to our gay detectives, and the black guy. The phone. Sorry, is another funny joke. Phone rings, and the one detective goes, I could have sworn that the phone was dead. And the other guy goes, why did you think that? And he goes, well, they usually are in situations like this.
That was definitely one of my favorite jokes.
He's like casually reading a newspaper. Like, he's not really doing much detecting of any kind. He's just hanging out.
I thought they were looking at gay porn.
That
One
also
of
was
them
happening,
was.
yes.
Yeah. One of the magazines, I think it was called Him.
Yes.
Oh, and our librarian lady, when she was unpacking her suitcases full of like whips and a sex toy called, what was it called? Big Willie.
Big Willie.
Big Willie.
Which I actually think was a blow up though.
Yes, because it says blow him up and blow your mind. I think I couldn't read it. I should have gone back and looked at it on the Tubi version.
She did have her dominatrix gear with her as well. She had the big, like the knee-high leather boots and the cat o' nine tails.
Oh yeah. The black gay detective goes to answer the phone, and it reminded me of like a Dr. Phibes Death. I don't know if you've ever seen Abominable Dr. Fives or Dr. Fives Rises Again. It's a
No.
Vincent Price movie, and it's amazing. He kills people with these weird contraptions and stuff, and based on themes and whatnot. But anyway, a knife comes springing out of the mouthpiece of the phone and through this guy's mouth, pinning him to the wall, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then the other detective is strangled by his own clone as well. That's kind of boring. Next, we get to the alcoholic has walked off on his own and looking. I don't know what they're looking for at this point, but they're looking for something. I don't even know if the movie actually told us. I've watched it twice now, and each time I have never figured out what they're looking for. But he finds a little bear under the bed. A little stuffed bear.
Okay, so was this a second nod to The Shining in a way?
I don't know. Maybe it was more Poltergeist. Oh,
Yeah, it's kind
like
of
the
what I
clown?
thought initially, but
Poltergeist?
Yeah, it's got creepy eyes.
Oh, it's the
And
best. It's so good.
it looks so damn silly. And it's got spring-loaded knives that come out of its hands and stabs the shit out of him. Oh, I almost forgot. All of us really liked this one scene because they wanted to spoof Jaws. And Nick, I know you really liked this one. And you hear the sort of pseudo Jaws theme as this guy is looking around in the hallway. And as it gets closer and closer, he opens the door, and the German guy's sitting on the toilet taking a shit while playing a cello.
yeah. They're going down the hallway. I was like, don't call John Williams and let him hear this. But I was like so hopeful that when he gets to the door, I'm like, please let somebody be playing the cello on the other side of this door. It opens it. Lo and behold, there he is.
It is so good. It's such a good joke.
And now we get to my favorite kill, because this is the one that, distracted me from getting my hands in that girl's shirt. And that is the prostitute lady. Oh, wait. We missed one because we can't get there yet. The mole guy first has to die. He gets trapped in the bathroom and everything's overflowing with blood.
It's such a good scene.
Slipping all over the place. And suddenly, for some reason, he decides to look into the toilet and is his whole body pulled into the toilet.
Face first, though, because
Face first.
he heard some gurgling in the toilet and was like, let me get my face very close to this.
Yeah. Well, one of the funny scenes about this was he was looking in the mirror and he starts playing with his hair.
Wig?
And you find out that he has like a whole piece wig on, basically. And then after he gets pulled into the toilet, the girl that was with him comes into the bathroom and she sees a hair in the toilet, like a wig in the toilet.
And it was funny because Ben was like, he has been wearing a wig, and I'm like, come on, wig scientist.
I know.
Yeah,
when
me. I was impressed.
I think they only did it for the joke, though,
I think
because
they did too,
because he's not bald. I don't think he was.
His hair looked real the rest of the movie.
He's got like a really loose scalp.
But yeah, this next kill is hands down my absolute favorite part of the movie. It's just so good. The animation on it is so good.
So the whole time, I keep calling him Mole Guy, and nobody knows why, because we haven't just explained why.
Yeah.
So he's got a huge, I don't know, the size of your hand mole on his arm. Sometimes it's a full-on prosthetic that they've put on there, and sometimes it's just like makeup to make it look like it's there in certain shots. But he says he has a certain sort of amnesia, where he remembers everything and he can do his job great and he has no problem there. But when it comes to his personal life, he forgets everything. And it all started when I got this mole on my arm. And the prostitute goes, I thought that was a birthmark. You thought what was a birthmark?
Which kind of sums up a lot of the jokes in this movie. Is they're very like they'll say something and then somebody will reply and then it's like what?
So the only reason it's there is all to set up this one kill, which is a play on words. So now that he's dead, he's obviously been taken over by the clone, and he comes in. She's all scared. I love you. I love you. I love every part of you. I love all of you. And he goes, even the mole in my arm. And when she looks down, this terrible mole puppet pops out of his arm and attacks her.
And it happens so fast.
Strangling her or biting her neck?
Biting her neck.
Biting her neck, yeah. And it's like a puppet, and it's like whipping her around.
Nick, were you saying something?
I'm saying it happens so fast that, when you sort of want to introduce like a mole, I think it may have been beneficial for the thing to be like a little sleepy, or like, you see it, it's like it doesn't like the light when it pops out, but it just sort of looks like a rodent. So it's like the joke works, obviously, but yeah, it bites her throat out. And
yeah,
it's
amazing.
That would have been a pretty good
part of the movie.
If it like came out and freaked out because of the light, that would have been cute. So she's done. The librarian lady is confronted by what appears to be her mother wearing the confessional.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lightsaber of all fucking things.
Oh, that's another movie. Forgot Star Wars. Yeah.
Which I mean, they didn't have the budget to do it, with like what did they use, rotoscope or something like that. I don't know how they did it in actual Star Wars. This looks like it's made of an actual like light bulb.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, congrats. I mean, it looked pretty good.
It did.
The only thing I wish they would have done is like made a Darth Vader mask that just looked really bad.
I like the confessional booth.
Well,
too.
no, I'm saying like underneath the confessional booth, it would have been funny if she like revealed her.
Well, we have to reveal that it was actually her. So, I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so German guy's taken over. It appears that once the clones have or killed you, they can now take on your personality, because other than that, they're all pretty stone-faced and whatnot, because he's acting exactly like German guy now and exploring with sexy lady. And they're going to the basement. Oh, I forgot to mention, they all ate a possessed fucking meat pie at some point for some reason. I have no idea
why. It was like
why.
A mincemeat pie that was who knows how old. It was the only thing in the freezer, and it just looked like it's filled with roast beef or something. It did not look appetizing.
It looked disgusting.
Yeah.
No. And that's where we got the alien thing as well. Dude started writhing around on the table, and there's just shirts bubbling up and stuff.
Just gas.
Yeah.
He stands up and then he like belches and he goes, I feel better.
So they're exploring the basement for again something. I don't know what. And sexy ladies, look out, a bat. And he looks up like waiting to see a bat, and a cricket bat falls on his head.
Oh God, this is my favorite joke in the entire movie. I laughed so hard both times when I watched it. It's just such a good joke.
They find a tomb. It's full of books about this sect of the the hooded monks and whatnot. I think his body is also in the tomb, like underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And
his body.
So she's the last one of the group that they need to get, and all the cult members start coming in, or the clones cult members come in and start raising their hands to show that they have the symbol on their hands. The hilarious corpse has popped up for some reason at some point. And even it raises its hand. And it's like, why? It doesn't have the fucking doesn't have that symbol on it. Just little shit like that really gets me. So it looks like it's the end for her, but her ghost boyfriend comes back in and swoops her away. And somehow they're still able to clone her.
The clone of her was out before she ever got even threatened, right? Because she's walking down the hallway and then she turns a corner and then her clone is already out. So they started popping out the clones outside once Vincent Price burned.
But it seemed like they needed to kill everyone in order for again, the movie doesn't care.
No, because the German guy met his clone before he died, remember?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What I mean is, like, in order to achieve what they're supposed to do,
ritual.
they needed to take out everyone that they were clones of.
Right.
It seemed like that.
And she's the only one left. Yeah, I mean, again, a movie doesn't give a shit. So apparently, just by her leaving the house, they've achieved it. I guess they just had to get everybody out of the house. Satan wants it clean. And then at this point, they all get on a UFO. Fucking what? And they leave. They fly off. That's it. And then, of course, we see the little thing, point of view, running through the grass, and it sees the spaceship goes, and it goes, "Oh, not again." And that I was like, was that like the skull of Vincent Price or what? And no, it turns out it was supposed to be a reference to E.T.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right, back it up. Back it up for a second to the house.
Yeah.
With the red robes. Did you end up watching it a second time after you watched it with me, or was the second time with me?
No, I watched it first with you, and then I watched it again with Ben.
Okay, so when we watched it, we were fixated on that scene with all of them in the living room in their red robes, raising their hand, being like, "I am the clone version of me." And we saw German guy downstairs in that circle, right? And then the next scene is he's in the basement looking in the tomb. Like, there's a third one of them out there. Did you get clarification on that after watching it again?
I think it was just poor structure and editing.
Like, whoops.
Oops.
Yeah, we're not going to fix that.
Yeah, I don't think that was like an intentional thing.
Because when I was watching it with Ben, I was thinking about that because I was like, yeah, we were like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, am I just forgetting that it revealed that he had a twin brother? No, it's just shoddy filmmaking. But with everything else they pulled off, hey, I'll let it slide.
It's at home, at least in this movie.
Yeah, I don't, because nothing matters. Nothing matters. We were talking a bit about, some of the people in here. I think I was wrong. The library lady is not the lady from Spaced, the Edgar Wright TV show. It's not her. Looks very familiar. But sexy lady, she was really big as well. She was not the 9 o'clock news. She was Ben. Do you remember what other movies she was in?
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, she was on a full season 10 of Saturday Night Live, and I believe she was in some sort of.
She was in something to lead, like the third installment of a movie, which I can't remember what it was.
I could have sworn that she was in like a James Bond flick.
No.
Are you sure?
Maybe. Jaws 3 or
Jaws 3.
Rocky 3 or
some third movie. Superman 3.
Superman 3, there you go.
That's it. Yes.
Oh, you weren't that far off.
Yep, and that was
it's
like
the third movie in some franchise, I swear.
And I'm like, well, damn it, now I gotta go watch Superman 3 again. Just because I don't even remember her being in there. But yeah, so, and a lot, like I said, a lot of these names are really big on television in England. But we've pretty much blown through the movie. Like I said, there's not a big plot to discuss. It's just a series of set pieces of jokes. It's kind of weird to talk about a comedy and just tell the jokes. It's just like we're the only ones that are gonna laugh about it because we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely hope that people watch this movie before listening to it, because otherwise it's not going to make as much sense.
Definitely
Not that it makes sense.
put a
but
disclaimer at the beginning of the show. We highly
yeah,
recommend investing the hour and a half, or else this episode's going to be a little bit of a stretch for you. But I mean, like, do you typically anticipate people watching the movies before listening to the episodes?
I mean, I would hope so.
I don't. I listen to your show. I love your show, but I almost never watch the movies. And I think, that makes it a lot more entertaining for me. And I mean, the great thing is that I've listened to almost every episode. I'm still catching up, but there's never been a movie where even you guys getting into like all the details, like all of the plot stuff, I've never been like, oh, I feel like that movie was ruined for me. I feel like it's something that I'm like, either now I want to go watch that and see what you guys were talking about. Do I want to see a woman give birth to a full-grown adult man? Do I want to see this lady have a weird hair baby in the sink?
Wow.
So I feel like I've gotten to the point where I'm more interested in the stuff that I haven't seen. Yeah, because typically I don't know where you're getting the movie from beforehand. It's mostly on Tubi, but I know you watch a lot of shorts and stuff too. So I put the episode on and I'm like, let's see what these dudes are talking about today.
That's cool.
If you would mostly because that was Ben's original. I wouldn't be here without Ben. Ben came up with the idea. Let's do a podcast, and he was like, let's make it all about movies on Tubi. And we love that idea because, therefore, if somebody wants to watch it beforehand, it's free. It's not hard to get a hold of. Or if it piques their interest, then they can go watch it afterwards. But yeah, if we do a short, I usually put a link in the description of the podcast so that you can watch it without having to look for it as well.
I think those have all been on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's frustrating when, because I listen to a bunch of movie podcasts, and it's frustrating when they'll cover something that you can't find. Like, I love Donald's podcast, but there's one episode that I probably never listened to because the movie is a Robert Altman movie and his movies don't stream, and I'm not going to buy McCabe and Mrs. Miller to listen to the episode. But I like people can just check it out and it doesn't cost them anything, and yeah, I think it's a not that everybody has to do that, obviously, but for me that was important that everybody would have easy access to it. So kind of like Nix's mom.
Hey, beat me to it, you little fuck.
He came prepared today.
I've forgotten like the past couple times, man. Like everybody else has had to step up to the plate. So what? Fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
There's so many characters.
Your idea.
Though.
There's so many options.
Are you gonna give 3 to choose from, or is it we get to pick from
anybody? You could even you could fuck any of the people that are in the. You could fuck the dog if you wanted to.
All right. Well, let's not put that out into the universe.
Who wants to go first?
Nobody? I guess I can be ready.
Okay.
I'm gonna marry Pamela Stevenson. She's just perfect. I really, really like her a lot. I'm gonna I thought that the barmaid was like really attractive, so I'm gonna fuck her. I liked her outfit.
The older lady?
Yeah.
Okay.
The blonde lady. The one that was found upside down in the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna kill. I'm probably gonna kill the alcoholic guy. I didn't really like his character too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
Huh?
that's my
Yeah,
guess.
he's a little
That's
forgettable.
3.
Yeah.
He's barely in the movie. All right, Nick.
All right,
Ready?
yeah. Let me look at the cast though.
Well, if you're ready next, you can go.
Well, I'm going to also marry sexy lady. So I have her all to myself for the rest of my life. Pamela Stevenson. I'm going to fuck the prostitute. Who gives one of the funniest shots in the movie from her is when the mole guy, they're driving and he starts to tell his story of who he is. The look on her face is like she's so brain dead and her mouth is hanging open. It's so funny. And then I'm gonna kill the German guy because he was kind of a dick to everybody around him.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good choice.
Yeah, and he might be a Nazi.
Okay,
Possible.
so real quick, there was a point in the movie where it looks like he almost gives like the Hitler salute, but doesn't fully commit to it. I think that was possibly intentional, but maybe I was just looking into that too much.
Which part was that?
I can't remember.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think the whole secret German life and then being very British the whole rest of the time is a pretty good indication of that.
Yeah.
Where did Nix go?
Who knows? Probably get a monster from the fridge. He can still hear though.
Can he?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's see. I'm gonna fuck Pamela Stevenson because she's got all the dominatrix gear, so she's ready to rock.
Wait, was that hers? Wasn't that the librarian girl?
Isn't she the librarian?
No. Pamela Stevenson is the
sexy lady,
the blonde with the glasses.
Yes.
Oh, well, you know what? She kind of does look like a librarian. I feel like we maybe
what is?
We're talking about.
I chose the wrong name.
Harry vibe.
That's why I said I need to look at the cast. Nobody's got pictures.
I know.
So I called her librarian lady because she's the one that goes through the books in the library.
Redhead.
The redhead.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Carrie.
So whoever the dominatrix is, give me that one. I'll fuck her. Of the characters, let's say I'm gonna marry Vincent Price.
Wow.
And then we'll kill the German guy.
All right. I mean, I'm sure you'll always be entertained if you're married to Vincent Price.
Never a dull moment. Look, it's a long-term investment, okay?
Oh, listen, you're summoning Satan, so there's some benefits to that.
Yeah, eternal life, get to fly away on a spaceship kind of thing. A nice collection of capes to wear.
So what do we don't really have an order, but we have things that we do. So if you were to rate this, what kind of rating would you? And what do we do, Ben? We do out of 10.
5.
Out of 5.
I mean,
oh fuck!
Do his
God, it doesn't matter. Nick's gonna rate them by fucking Sour Patch Kids.
No, I'll adhere to the star system for you. But we'll rate them in chicken stars. I don't know. I think it probably at least a solid 3. It was enjoyable. I mean, it definitely has its weaknesses, but the 3 to 4 range, I feel like for what the movie was trying to achieve, it did that pretty well. The practical effects are done well for a horror film of that era. You've got a lot of quirky performances, a lot of good laughs, the editing's good, the music's good. It's a solid experience. Is it a great movie? Not necessarily, but I could comfortably say experience wise, I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
All right.
Stamp it.
Put it on the screen.
I've been going back and forth on this one. From an entertainment standpoint, and I think for what it did, maybe unknowingly, I'm not sure if this was an influence for directors who eventually ended up doing spoof movies, but if they seen it, then I'm sure that it was an influence. And for being something that was, if not the first, very early on. I think as a movie, this is probably like a 3.5. But from a entertainment value and what I got out of it, this is probably closer to like 4.5 for me, because it's not perfect. There's definitely some, there's some editing stuff that's not great, but overall looks really good. Special effects were surprisingly pretty good. I mean, some of it was obviously done for gags, but I thought most of the jokes hit well. And this is one of those movies where I will definitely be showing this to other people. This is definitely like a good group setting type of film to put on when
Oh yeah.
you're saying that with people.
Yeah, I'm hoping this convinces some people to go check it out. It deserves a little reappraisal, considering how bad it was treated upon its initial release.
If you smoke weed, definitely get high before you watch this.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. But it's a lot of fun. I'd probably give it a 3.5 myself. Just because there's so many jokes that worked for me. Some of the little character traits were really quirky and interesting. Yeah, I like Ben said, some of the effects were really cool. And there's that mole in the arm gag.
And that's a whole star right there.
I'm gonna add another half. Okay, we're 4 stars. 4 stars, baby.
Honestly, it's my favorite part of the movie. It's second favorite joke, only to the bat. The bat was, because it just, and not, no pun intended, but it was out of nowhere. Like, she says it, and so you're like waiting for the bat to like fly onto the screen. Gets hit with the cricket bat, and it's like, oh god, it's so funny.
And I think
I don't know, maybe it hit me both times. The joke hit for me, so I don't know. Maybe it's just my sense of humor, but I really enjoyed that.
It's good. You're the target demo for this kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is good. I mean, if you compare this movie to like all movies across time, that probably brings its rating down. But I think if you were to line this up against only other horror spoof movies, this probably would be one of the better ones that understands the assignment and really delivers on that in a way that's different than everything else too. Because I think, I can think of the whole Scary Movie franchise, and the way that is played, like, yeah, it's funny, but I think it's structured a little bit differently with its punchlines, to where it's like you kind of know what's coming because you know the movie that it's spoofing.
Right. Yeah, and I think too with that is, they progressively got worse and worse, and they just were so over the top. And like I said, there's a couple jokes, I guess, in the movie that are kind of over the top, but for the most part, I thought that and again, I think a lot of that is because it's British. I think if this was in American hands, we'd get a completely different movie. And so for me, I appreciate that, because that's more my sense of humor than just like straight up stuff. So,
well, it's definitely benefits from that restraint. Because if you haven't seen Legend of Hell House, I would definitely suggest that. I say do a double feature with The Haunting and then The Legend of Hell House, because those two are good companion pieces, both from different kind of eras. But this one is really leaning on that Legend of Hell House kind of feel and setup and all that. So it's really shot and set up like one of those older 70s British films. What was I gonna say? Oh, and those fucking, remember like Date Movie, superhero movie, like Seltzer and Friedberg or whoever. Those are just the worst pieces of shit. Reference movies is all they were. Just reference. It didn't really spoof like this one where there's whole, I don't know, kind of even the whole setup. Companion piece. If we were to maybe do a double feature with Bloodbath at the House of Death, well, what would you pair it with?
I mean, I guess if you want to stay in the time frame, you could do Airplane.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not, like I said, I don't think that there's a lot of the horror spoof or even just spoof movies that are restrained like this. I think that most of them just, they can't contain themselves, and so things just get crazier and crazier. And so I'm not sure. I don't know what I would pair this with, honestly.
I mean, the Satanists did take off in a spaceship, Ben.
That
True. So there was a couple things, but like overall, like if you compare this to Scary Movie, it's it's
very
it's just
different
not the
tonal
same.
wavelength.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair question. I'd maybe go with either Troll or the first Ghoulies, because you get a lot of good like practical effects. Like, granted, those movies are not spoof movies in the way that this is. I think that both of those movies understand how to use humor in the context of the film that they're making, and they're both very enjoyable and fun watches as well.
Yeah, I could see that, especially the first Ghoulies. For sure.
And I did not think about this at all.
That's why you passed the buck.
Shit. He asked the question and doesn't have an answer.
Yes, I'm hoping you guys will give me trigger something in my brain to make me go, oh yeah, what about this? I'm using you. See, I don't know. I'd probably want to tie it to man. Oh god damn it.
I feel like you would have
probably want to
better understanding of what the genre, has in store as well.
Right. I'd probably put it with some sort of Vincent Price movie, like from his later stuff in the 70s. Yeah, because I kind of dig, like so many different characters. Probably a Dr. Phibes flick. I think I'd probably do that. Abominable Dr. Phibes, probably. Probably that one. That's the only place my head's going right now.
You know what would actually be a good pairing with this, even though it's not horror, would be
Pants.
UHF. I feel like UHF has similar jokes and similar humor, and also spoofs a lot of the movie industry. So
yeah. Well, on that note, I would say if you really want to go like higher brow, maybe something like Ed Wood, that knows what it is and what it's doing and executes that at a very high level. There's a lot of humor involved as well. So
yeah,
very different end of the spectrum. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, those are two of some of my favorite films right there.
Yeah, Ed Wood's great. It's very underrated.
What? Didn't it win an Oscar?
Well,
for somebody?
Probably.
Yeah,
Martin Landau? Did he?
Yeah, Martin Landau. That was kind of like a career nod, I feel like, in a lot of ways.
That happens a lot, but
I remember it being a pretty big deal when it came out, and it was pretty much loved.
But I don't feel like it's aged. Like, I don't feel like people talk about it anymore. I never really hear people mention.
Where's its cultural footprint?
Yeah.
Nobody talks about Avatar.
Actually, you know what? I'm changing my mind for the fourth time. This movie.
Oh fuck!
This movie should be paired with Cabin in the Woods.
Okay, yeah.
I think that is the perfect modern comparison, because unlike Nick, saw Cabin in the Woods on opening night
Woo, me too.
and
Look at
immediately
you two.
wanted to go. Immediately wanted to go watch it the next showing. It was I remember I looked at my ex at the time and was just like, "What did we just watch? That was insane!" And like, I loved it. Like, instantly fell in love with it. And kind of like with this movie, like this movie is in my wheelhouse when it comes to like comedy. So yeah, I think I would pair it with Cabin in the Woods.
So I was a big fan as well. And as soon as the DVD came out, I purchased the DVD. And my kid, because he was still a kid at that point, started to because I had it at home. He hadn't seen it. My wife and I had. And he started to pick up the DVD to look at it, and I'm like, whoa, 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 no, 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 because the goddamn cover gave away the fucking twist. Like, well, I mean, not twist, because they give it away to the audience in pieces throughout, but you're never quite sure. But I didn't want him to know that, there were all those monsters and shit that were going to come, because that was kind of cool. Love that
scene. That scene was like where they're all just coming out of the doors was just like joy overload for my brain. I was so happy.
I just wish we could have got something cooler than undead redneck cannibal family. I wish we could have got a cooler monster or something. If it did make money, it was pretty successful. It should have made a sequel and brought us another one.
You know what? I complain about sequels all the time. I would have been pretty happy with a sequel to that.
Nice. Yeah, but what does like the sequel do that the first one didn't do?
I mean, that's the thing.
It's a prequel.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you could explain the whole like origin of like the whole group and how they started, and yeah.
Nix has been waiting for that question for a while. He had that one chambered.
All right, I'm gonna start a petition to Jordan Peele to make the prequel to Cabin in the Woods.
There you go.
I think he's a pretty busy guy. All right, so do we have is there any other things that we normally do, Ben? I keep meaning to make a list of things to hit, and we are just a fucking shit show, so I've never done that.
I think we covered it all.
Okay.
I would just ask you two, since I've already clearly said my favorite joke of the movie. Do you two have a favorite joke of the movie?
I've listed out like six. I don't know.
I was really excited for like the cello reveal because I was just like, please tell me that there's somebody on the other side of this door. And there was. So that's probably my favorite, but only because I wanted it so much.
Yeah. No, it's a great one.
The gods were smiling in your favor.
And honestly, when the lady gets reverse sucked out of the house by her radioactive ghost boyfriend, that's not necessarily like a joke, but that scene is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love the reveal of the mom when it looks like she's peeking through the curtains of the window, and then she backs up and she's wearing a full-on fucking confessional. I love that fucking reveal.
Oh God, it's so good. It's so good. Those are good choices.
So we got I guess it's time for the wrap up, man. I always hate it when the show comes to an end. It's just like I'm saying goodbye to friends.
There you are.
I know.
It's see you later,
I was just like, let's
yeah.
Okay. So Nick, as we've said at the beginning, he is the host of Bad Movies We Love. Which you wanna toot your own horn here, Shit Snake?
Yeah, the show's back. I just released the first new episode in 7 weeks almost. Friday. So keep an eye out. We did Life. So Daniel Espinosa joined some lofty company as becoming one of the 2 directors who have had movies on the show twice. Not that I talked to Daniel Espinosa, but him and Paul Verhoeven are the two who I've covered multiple films of. And yeah, I was joined by Stephanie, new friend from Film Club, and she did a fantastic job.
Hi, Stephanie.
Yes, Steph, if you're listening to this, we're promoting the show. Yes.
Also, come on the show, please.
There you go. And yeah, we've got, let's see, Hackers up next, and then Exorcism of Emily Rose. Those two I need to work on editing. And then I've got
Cool.
some other interviews lined up. My sister, I'm still trying to get her to come and do Basket Case, because she brought that to me before we watched it for the watch
Nice.
party. And she's like, I have things to say about this movie. So I'm like, please come on, do the show. So we've been,
How could you
right?
not?
So we've been talking about that one for a while. I'm trying to make that happen. And then I've got a couple others lined up, one with Ben and Michelle again. And Newman's going to come on the show as well. So we got the gears turning once again.
Good.
Well, Ben's cheating on me again. But I promise next time I come on your show, I'll bring you a movie that isn't quite such a dud. I know there wasn't a lot of interest in Robot Child.
That's not true. Since it initially didn't do well in that first week, it's done really well since then.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
So it gained momentum, and I know that I can't remember the lead actor's name right now. Gary something.
Oh yeah, he just
passed
away
right after that episode, so I think people circled back to it. But yeah, that episode gained a lot of traction in the weeks where I wasn't releasing anything new. So yeah, it was not a dud at all.
Sweet. We've had that happen a couple of times, like a Terror of Mechagodzilla one that we did. It just stayed at the bottom for the longest time, and we had released it. Coincidentally, we had already done it. We hadn't even thought about -1 coming out, and we released it the week that -1 came out, and I was like, oh hey, look at me, I'm on on the cusp of what society's interested in. Bound to get lots of listens, and it just sat there.
Yeah, I actually thought wow, this is perfect timing. We didn't even plan this. And then it was just nobody's listening to it. It's okay.
It's done really well since. It took a couple of weeks. It seems like we're getting more listeners, which is kind of cool and a little weird for me. Because at least when we first started, it's I'm pretty sure I know who's listening to the show, right? My friends and co-podcasters and all that stuff. And now as it gets more and more people, I'm like, oh wow.
Stranger danger.
It's not going to change. Right?
What's
funny
is I haven't even really told a lot of my friends about this podcast yet. I've kind of been waiting for there to be a bunch of episodes and so there's a catalog, because I know with some people, if they listen to a podcast and they run out of episodes to listen to, they'll just forget about it and they'll never listen to it again. So I've been kind of waiting for there to be a little bit more of a catalog.
Don't you have 30 episodes at this point?
We've got.
I think so.
Not 30.
So what are you waiting on?
No, I think it is.
What number are you waiting
15
on?
or 20?
How many do you need?
We're still putting them out.
I'm waiting for when we do Nick's favorite movie, Serbian film.
Oh, great.
It's not even on Tubi, I don't think, dude. So, how are you going to pull that off, fuckface?
Oh, I will pay for everybody to watch it. I will make it happen. So let's see. There are 25 episodes.
Yeah. Once you get to 100, that's going to be now I feel confident. I can tell people in real life about this.
I'm going to say, well, I also just, I don't want my mom to find. I don't want my mom to listen to this.
Just don't tell your mom.
Well, she's gonna find out if I start telling people. I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but also,
I mean, your mom has guessed it.
Do tell your mom to call me.
But your mom has guessed it on your brother's show. multiple times.
I
You
know.
really don't think it's like, oh yeah, Ben has a show that he's doing too. I'm just not going to tell you about it.
Well, she knows that I have one, but she doesn't know the
Oh,
name.
okay.
So my real name in real life is not associated with this show at all. So if you Google my name in a podcast, it does not come up. So
Gotcha.
and that is not a challenge, Nix.
So you can find Nick and Bad Movies We Love on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. He's also you got a website,
Yeah, the
right?
Shice.com. That has, of course, taken a backseat as well while I've been attending to other matters. But I'm looking to start getting back to that, at least doing the release radar again every week so that anybody who's considering going to the movies over the weekend has a full broad spectrum of like, here's sort of what's coming out, where it's coming out, can you see it? And that's typically how I approach movies, is like, I know what's coming out this week. This is the only stuff I have access to. So I'm going to just plan my week around what's available, more so than like, oh, I saw a trailer for something that's coming out 3 months from now, which of course, like, hey, I want to see that, but it doesn't do me any good today. And yeah, so that has its own podcast as well, which was the Shice podcast, which was the first show that I started. And that was like a mix of interviews, movie stuff, sports. And so I started to sort of refine that. I want to get back to being more of an interview and film space, like keep it more in line with what it started as. So I've got some interviews lined up for that as part of a creator series I'm working on, where I'm going to be talking to some authors, some digital artists, musicians, things like that, to just maybe once a month. I think right now I want to do like a long form interview with just, people in different creative fields and see how they get their inspiration and stuff like that. So
That's
we're
awesome.
Very cool. And you
Well,
can catch him on Twitter. Well, go.
I was gonna say we could put all of his info on the.
Oh yeah, we'll
on
do
the
it like we always
links,
do.
all that stuff.
Twitter, Bad Movies We Love. You can find us on Twitter under Cinema Shit Show. You can find us on Blue Sky under Cinema Shit Show. We even have a Facebook group. You'll never guess what it's called. It's called Cinema Shit Show. And Ben has now stepped up to the plate twice. He's done 2 things.
They're both your mom.
Besides, everybody's ganging up on me. He created an email. So if you guys are interested, have any questions, or you want to see if you can come on the show or want to join us, email us at cinemashitshow@gmail.com. And then he also created an Instagram that neither of us knows what to do with right now. But it does exist.
Cinema
Thank you, Ben.
Shit Show Podcast. All one word.
You sure about that?
I thought he was going to keep adding more and more words. Cinema Shit Show Podcast Show thing deal.
Instagram tag.
Just post pictures.
Hashtag
It's fine.
handle. No,
There's nothing there yet.
there's nothing on there, but if you are on Instagram, follow it, and I will start putting some episode related things, and maybe even we'll eventually make some videos to put on there and stuff. But
Exclusive content.
I forgot.
Bonus content.
We've started putting our videos, our recordings of the podcast up on YouTube.
Tubin.
There's a short show and a book show that had what?
Tubin. YouTubing.
There's a short and a book show that's no video. It's just the audio. It was just I wanted to get something up there to get started, but I've now put 2 different full episodes with the video of us talking, Ben masticating and probably yawning.
I'll get
just
yawn
definitely. Yay! So you can watch us laugh if you feel like it, and that's again, we got real creative with the YouTube channel. It's called Cinema Shit Show. So there you go. Insaniacs, Cinemasochists, everybody that joined us today. Ben, love you, buddy. Nick, I love you, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Love you too, T-Bob.
And thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on your Sunday, your day off. Appreciate it, and looking forward to more bad movies we love in the future.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. And there will be more. And for all the listeners out there that are considering that YouTube, that was Ben masticating.
Yes. Please confirm that. I'm glad you did. Today you didn't get to see me eat or yawn, but you did get to see me smoke some good old weed.
Yeah,
So,
I almost brought food.
brought to you by the cannabis industry today.
Cinema shit show powered by the cannabis industry.
Not backwoods. Hackwoods. Anyways.
All right. The movie's on Tubi and also YouTube, but it cuts off the first 15 seconds, as we said at the beginning. So if you'd like to take a look. And, hey, I hope everybody stays safe. And, hey, don't forget, if you're feeling down, reach out to your friends or family members, because nobody knows if you're struggling unless you tell them.
Yeah.
And everybody, we will see you on the next one.
What the fuck was that?
Is that what a podcast is?
I guess so.
It's very entertaining.
I suppose.
Oh.